Story 1. Everything started guiltlessly enough. I had chosen to indulge myself with a pleasant supper at a comfortable cafe I regularly visited. The feeling was warm, and the food was consistently first class. I figured it would be the ideal method for loosening up after a furious week's worth of work. I subsided into my number 1 corner stall, requested a glass of wine, and began perusing the menu. Much to my dismay that tonight would take an evil turn. As I scrutinized the choices, I was unable to shake the inclination that somebody was watching me. From the beginning, I excused it as neurosis, yet that hunch developed further as time passes. My heart hustled as I saw a man sitting alone at a close-by table. He appeared to be adequately customary, yet there was something about the manner in which he gazed at me that creeped me out. His unblinking eyes never faltered, and an evil smile crawled across his face. I attempted to forget about it, persuading myself it was a figment of my imagination. In any case, as the minutes ticked by, I was unable to overlook the disquiet that worried me. My craving evaporated, and I chose to abandon my half-completed dinner. I covered my bill, wanting to take off, however my stalker had different plans. He dragged along me as I hastily advanced toward the exit. Alarm set in as I understood he was following me, step for step. My heart beat in my chest as I bumbled for my vehicle keys, attempting to open the entryway. Similarly, as I naturally suspected I had gotten away from him, he showed up all of a sudden, obstructing my way. His smile had broadened, uncovering a threatening arrangement of teeth. My voice trapped in my throat, and I stammered, requesting to know why he was following me. His answer was chilling. He talked in a low, purposeful tone, as though enjoying the trepidation in my eyes. He professed to have seen me previously, knew my everyday daily practice, and demanded that we were intended to be together. It was an upsetting, silly talk that creeped me out. Franticness kicked in, and I realized I needed to get away. With shaking hands, I figured out how to open my vehicle entryway and flung it open. I hopped inside and forcibly closed the entryway, locking it with perfect timing to see him lurching toward me. His fingers tore at the window, and I dashed away, abandoning him in the faintly lit parking garage. I headed to the closest police headquarters, where I announced the astonishing experience. The officials took my assertion and guaranteed me they would examine the occurrence. They proposed to give assurance, however I declined, not having any desire to truly focus on my stalker. In the days that followed, I was unable to shake the sensation of being watched. I changed my schedules, kept away from the cafe, and introduced surveillance cameras around my home. Continuously, the apprehension died down, however the memory of that vile smile tormented my fantasies. I don't have the foggiest idea what was the fate of my stalker, and I want to believe that I never need to find out. Be that as it may, I needed to impart my story to all of you, as a suggestion to pay attention to your gut feelings and remain cautious. No one can tell when a standard night can transform into a genuine bad dream. Remain protected out there, Reddit. Story 2. I was distant from everyone else that evening, hankering a few solace food and figured this spot would be great. Much to my dismay, my night would take a startling turn. As I entered the eatery, I saw a person sitting at the bar. He didn't strike me as strange from the get-go, simply one more supporter partaking in his feast. Yet, as the night went on, things got odd. I subsided into a corner stall and requested my feast. That is the point at which I saw him looking over at me more than once. From the outset, I excused it as an irregular happenstance, yet his gazes developed more extreme. It wasn't simply interest, it was something substantially more vile. As I completed my dinner, I understood he was all the while gazing. It caused my hair to stand on end. I covered my bill, trusting that would mean certain death for it, however it just compounded the situation. He followed me as I headed towards the exit, and I could feel his eyes consuming into my back. I ventured outside, wanting to shake him off, however he was steady. He kept on following me a ways off, continuously keeping me in his view. Alarm began to set in. I was distant from everyone else, and this person appeared not set in stone to follow everything I might do. Frantic to get away, I strolled around a couple of blocks, trusting he would surrender. Be that as it may, he didn't. He stayed a consistent presence, sneaking in the shadows, similar to a hunter following its prey. Dread grasped me as I understood I needed to follow through with something. I detected a close-by odds and ends shop and chose to take shelter inside. I figured I would lose him there, yet regrettably, he followed me in. My heart dashed as I claimed his shop, meanwhile watching out for him through the paths. I realized I needed to call for help, yet I was unable to do it without alarming him. I figured out how to send a prudent message to a companion, letting them know my area and what was occurring. I supplicated they would act the hero. Time delayed as I held up in that corner shop, my stalker never wandering a long way from me. At long last, my companion showed up, and I immediately made my departure, abandoning the cafe. I don't have the foggiest idea what that person's expectations were that evening, yet I was fortunate to have somebody there to help me. I documented a report with the police, however they never got him. The occurrence left me shaken, perpetually different by the acknowledgement that peril can hide in the most unforeseen spots. In this way, Reddit, kindly be cautious out there. Pay attention to your gut feelings, and in the event that you at any point wind up in a circumstance like mine, make sure to help. My upsetting experience at that cafe will torment me everlastingly, however I trust by sharing my story, I can bring issues to light and help other people stay safe. Story 3. It was a cold pre-winter evening when I chose to indulge myself with a decent supper at a curious little cafe on the edges of town. The spot had a comfortable environment, with diminished lights and delicate jazz music playing behind the scenes. It seemed like the ideal spot to loosen up following some serious time work. I had recently sunk into my seat when a man strolled in. He was mediocre from the get-go, simply one more benefactor searching for a dinner. He sat down at the bar, not a long way from where I was sitting. As I scrutinized the menu, I couldn't resist the opportunity to see the manner in which he continued to look toward me. From the outset, I excused it as simple occurrence, however as the night wore on, his gazes turned out to be more extreme and disrupting. I attempted to zero in on my feast, however a developing disquiet perplexed me. Maybe he was concentrating on me, analyzing everything I might do. I chose to cover my bill and leave, expecting to get away from his look. Yet, as I got up to go, he unexpectedly moved toward me. His voice was quiet, practically alleviating, however there was a ghostly quality to it. I really wanted to see how wonderful you are, he said, his eyes never leaving mine. Would you see any problems on the off chance that I went along with you briefly? I delayed the slightest bit, uncertain of how to answer. Contrary to what I might think is best, I permitted him to plunk down. He presented himself as a normal at the cafe, professing to be a food pundit who visited such places to test the cooking. His charming disposition veiled a basic force that caused my hair to stand on end. As we talked, he appeared to be unusually focused on my own life. He got some information about my family, my work, and my everyday schedules. His inquiries turned out to be progressively obtrusive, and I started to lament my choice to draw in with him. In any case, when I endeavored to stand up and pardon myself, he delicately put his hand on mine, keeping me from leaving. Kindly, don't go right now, he said, his hold fixing marginally. I find our discussion very captivating. That is the point at which I saw a progression of little, unobtrusive signs that creeped me out. His fingers jerked apprehensively, and a curious scent exuded from him, a blend of sweat and something undeniably more vile. I figured out how to liberate my hand from his grip and hurried towards the leave, my heart beating in my chest. In any case, he followed me intently, his means reverberating in the unfilled eatery. Alarm set in as I bobbled for my vehicle keys, and I realized I needed to move away from him as fast as could be expected. I arrived at my vehicle in the nick of time, closed the entryway, and locked it. He remained outside, watching me with a savage look, his grin wound into a twisted smile. I turned over the motor and dashed away, leaving the cafe and that chilling experience a long ways behind. In the days that followed, I was unable to shake the inclination that I had barely circumvented something unbelievably vile. I did some digging web-based, attempting to find any data about the one who had crossed my way that evening. What I found creeped me out. Ends up, he had a background marked by following and badgering, and he had as of late been set free from jail in the wake of spending time in jail for a line of horrifying killings. He was a chronic executioner who had dodged catch for a really long time before at last being dealt with. What's more, he had picked that cafe as his hunting ground. I shiver to figure what could have occurred in the event that I hadn't paid attention to my gut feelings and made my departure. I see myself as unimaginably fortunate, yet I can't resist the urge to think about the number of others might not have been so lucky. Along these lines, Reddit, kindly be wary while feasting out, and consistently pay attention to your instinct inclination. No one can tell who may be prowling in the shadows, hanging tight for their next clueless casualty.